Attention, all you fishes in the sea. Welcome to the fishbowl with Sam Fisher.
And yeah, and so it's really great to be able to have that level of access that we've never had before. And it's all about okay, how do we find the people who like it?
And
And and keep
that's
going.
where I would like to come in, and not just for Audiogust, but I started doing this for the last two most recent band interviews. One from that Shauna represents, Tombstones in Their Eyes, great West Coast psychedelic rock band. And I love to try and feature artists' music like is if like it was a radio show, only like it's a podcast, you
Yep.
know. So I'm a big fan of, again, trying to help, artists get their stuff out there. And if, I can help, bring more listeners or get new people into music that they may not know otherwise. And just like we were talking about, there is a lot of great music out there, but it's how do you get it out there into
To the right ears.
right, the eyes and ears of the listeners. There's so much good music, especially rock and roll. Like rock and roll it's always been there, maybe lurking in the shadows or swimming in the deep depths of the sea, whatever. But I see like a huge resurgence of rock kind of coming back in like a new era. And one thing I wanted to comment on that you were talking about with streaming and stuff like that, and again, kind of being ahead of the game with stuff. I had this conversation with another musician during another interview, but I wanted to see what your take on it was with everything that has come about since like the 2000s, end of the 90s and the 2000s, the rise of Spotify, Bandcamp, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, all the streaming apps. And like you even said, it might be too easy to get some stuff on there. But even with that being said, I kind of look at that as like, I think it took a good 20 to 25 years for everything to kind of reset. Because a lot of the bands from the 90s when Napster came out and like the downloading stuff, torrent stuff, they all claimed that was like the end of rock and roll. It was a big hit, which it was. I
Yeah.
can see that for sure. But now, I mean, you even said like Spotify, streaming services in general are like the new way to kind of like have the most access to get your music out there. And the trouble is that there's so much of it. How do you get it out there and to the right audiences and all that? And I am a rare breed. I think a dying breed, honestly. I'm one of those people that if I see a band has, a track that's 6 minutes or longer, or a live album where, they're playing for like 10 minutes or longer, if they hit that like 15 mark, and then if they go past that 15 mark, you know, I'm like, holy crap, this is what music is supposed to be.
Hmm.
I'm a fan of jam bands. I'm a fan of, not just old jam bands,
Yep.
but new jam bands and upcoming jam bands and just, like I like to think of myself as like a sponge in terms of like absorbing as much diverse, musical influences as I can. And
Yep.
I just think that like with streaming being like at least for the next like or the here and now, I should say, it is I think what took like a good 20-25 years to like just reset. And now since everybody has access, it's like rock and roll, it's like it's kind of like the days of Henry Rollins and Black Flag and where it was like, playing for stuff and doing stuff just to get your music out there. And while radio may have limitations, podcasts, and streaming media has much more options
Well, and
to.
they have the same challenge that music has, right? Podcast. I mean,
Right.
anybody can put a podcast up there, and you can get it to the exact same everybody as as anybody, as any of the the major media outlets doing people who do podcasts as well, and you can get to the same way, except for now you're one of millions and millions of podcasts. And so how do the people who want to listen to what you have to say find you? And you're in the exact same boat that we're all in with our bands, which is, okay, how do I get the people who want to hear what I have to say to know and come look for, the Fishbowl? And yeah, it's all the same challenge for the same reason. And in the end, it's all coming from the same pot of money. And, the funny thing is that, I'm seeing all these TV streaming service, the Paramount Pluses and the Disney Pluses and those kinds of things that keep getting more expensive. And strangely, and Spotify's price is going up some.
Right.
Apple's music price has gone up some. But it seems to me that Spotify's price is still too low. Now, the thing that bothers me is that if they increased it a lot, they wouldn't give that money on to the artists or the labels or whoever. They would just keep it for themselves or for their shareholders, which is terrible. It seems to me that they should have a cap on the amount of money they could make as a percentage, which should be something in the, I don't know, above their cost, 20% or something like that, whatever. I mean, they should be able to make some money. They're doing a useful thing. They're working on technology. Spotify is way better than any other service in terms of introducing people to new music that is the actual type that they would like. So it is ridiculously good at that. And that I appreciate about Spotify. The fact that they, don't pay you unless you've had over 1,000 streams on each song in the past 12 months, which means you can get above that number and then it falls down below that number and they just stop paying you for that song from that point on, is criminal to me. But they're the only place that you can actually have people who could be exposed to you who are the right people, and they're really good at that. And if they charged $30 a month for their service instead of 12 or whatever it is, a lot of people would complain, certainly.
Right.
But it seems to me that the music is so much more important to me than any of those other TV show streaming services. Because I listen to more of it, and it has a bigger impact on me. And it is, when I listen to Spotify, it's everything. Like if I subscribe to Paramount, I'm only getting CBS shows and Paramount shows. I don't get anything else, right? And then I got to go do that again for HBO. I got to do it again for Disney. I got to do it again for the next one. When I do it with Spotify, I get everything, right? I get all the labels. Warner doesn't have their own separate one you got to go do. They all go through the same one. And so it strikes me as that is probably the most important and valuable, because music means more than an awful lot of TV shows do. And now, this is me. I mean, there are people who are crazy into certain TV shows and way more so than music. And so they would certainly think differently, which is totally reasonable. But for me and for an awful lot of people, music is life, is incredibly just a core component of how they think and what they are and how they've experienced life and how they remember life. And so being able to access that much of it through a service is way more valuable than what we're being charged for it right now. And, if they could get to something like $30, but have still, if the difference between what they take in now and that all went to the artists based on, streams and those kinds of things, it would be game changing, right? You can imagine, 4 times as much money coming out to artists and songwriters and producers. It would make it so much easier to keep doing that.
Right. And podcasters for that matter.
Yeah. And the amount of money that it's still less than, what we used to spend on CDs in a month, right?
Right.
Back when those were coming
right.
out. Those were what, $7 to $10 at a time back in the 90s. And so if you get 3 of them a month, it would be $30, and you only got 3 CDs in that time for $30. You get everything for $30 is still a hell of a deal. And if it weren't for the fact that they would just go and say, oh, great, we will continue to pay, 0.3 of a cent per stream. And now we're going to take 3 times as much money, and we're going to just sort of use it to invest in death or whatever. That would be worthless. But if they actually could turn that into money that comes back to the artists, that would be great. The alternative is another one of these streaming services gets as good as Spotify does at actually exposing people to new music and stuff that they're going to like, that they just don't know that they love yet. And it would be wonderful if more of them could. If Apple could go and do that, that'd be great. But Apple Music strikes me as it's a great service to go to for people to listen to the music they already know that they like. And it's there, and it sounds great, and all those things are good, but it doesn't do a good job of exposing people. If you go look at my thing on Apple Music and go look at are there artists like this? You find is other artists with a similar number of listeners.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And on Apple Music, that number for me is tiny compared to what it is on Spotify, because they don't find those people. And so it's, if someone else could go and solve that in a way that is as effective as what Spotify does, they could, potentially be the one that everyone should go to. And I see a lot of people complaining about Spotify and canceling their Spotify membership because, Daniel Ek is investing in murder drones and military equipment and stuff like that, which I can certainly see being quite unhappy with. That's what your money is going to. Okay, but if you don't go to Spotify, if you go to something else, you're not going to find me, because unless you know, and if you don't know who I am, you don't know what Audiogust is or what I do, then why would you go and look for my name out of the, millions of other opportunities out there? And being able to have, whenever you play a playlist or whatever on Spotify, if you just sort of let it keep going, they'll just sort of fall into radio mode, and they'll just sort of start playing things, and they kind of know what it is you like, and they do a better job of knowing what any given song is, not who the artist is or what the genre name is or those kinds of things. It's actually looking at what is this music, what is it about this music, and what are other things like it. And then as they put those things, things you listen to or the things you say, no. And like when you skip on Spotify, it doesn't mean I'll never like listening to it. It means I don't like listening to it right now. That's
right.
A huge difference that most of them don't get. They think, skip is I don't like this. And the difference between I don't like this and I don't want to hear this right now is huge, right? And so,
absolutely.
Like, the day lists on Spotify where they acknowledge, we know, and again, some of it's just a bunch of BS, which is fine, but it's just acknowledging the fact that, every 3 hours of the day, the thing that you're into will shift, and the day of the week matters. And, like the things you listen to when you're commuting is different from the stuff you listen to when you're cleaning or just chilling or whatever. And acknowledging that, and then saying, okay, not just, is this the right song, but when is this the right song for this person? And focusing on how do we make that work? Same thing with podcasts, right? It's like, when is the right time to listen to the Fishbowl versus listening to anything else? That's the thing that they've done a better job than most on. And, if that can be spread more, then the other ones start to have a better chance, and they pay better and they care more about the artists, and that's good. But the fact that they don't know how to, get that out there and can't have the impact yet that Spotify has is just an opportunity for them to all get better.
I completely agree with that. Everything you said about Spotify. I mean, I was hesitant for a long time about getting Spotify for like various reasons, like why do I have to pay to listen to music, blah, blah, blah. Right, right, but one, I'm on Spotify. The Fishbowl is on Spotify. Two, and more importantly, which really should be one, and the grandiose one, is that the thing you said about how introducing what your profile is, what you like to listen to, not just me, not just you, but everyone, what everyone like, personal preferences, what they like more versus something else. I have discovered and keep discovering more and more excellent musicians, excellent bands of all sorts of different genres, everything from shoegaze to heavy metal, doom metal, every variation of metal you could think of, stoner rock, stoner metal, retro rock theme stuff, which I also see as a big re-emerging genre, is like music that sounds like it's from the 60s or 70s, but it's like a more fusion of all those bands.
Sure.
That's like another big kind of rock genre I see emerging now. It's I just agree 100% with everything you said about Spotify, and I wouldn't be opposed after seeing how useful it is in terms of keeping my music knowledge and interest alive with all the music, again, versus film, because just like you also said with all the TV streaming apps, they really aren't putting out, I mean, I have a, Paramount Plus, I have an HBO Max, I have, a few other ones, but, I grew up in the age of where movies were movies,
Hmm.
and more art tasteful, and it wasn't all about, money making the world go round.
It's always about that, but still,
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. That's true. It's always has been about that. But I should say in the 80s and 90s and even 70s, 60s, there was a lot more creative freedom, I think. And Frank Zappa, even, I'm not going to quote it exactly, but there's an interview he did. He was basically saying that, I think it was the 80s, and he was saying that the guys who were signing all the bands, including him and every, major rock band icon from the 60s and 70s that, is like infamous now, were just taking a chance, basically. They didn't know if it was going to sell. They didn't, have any indication of, they was just like, let's give it a shot, and that's what
yep,
came out of it.
yeah, and
Now,
that was great. But
right.
it was still very limited, right? I mean, there's only so many they could do that on, and they could go and take a shot, and occasionally they worked, and most of them didn't, and yeah, and so it's sort of interesting to look at that, and now people look at the labels are way more risk averse. They still make a lot of bad choices on there, but they start at least from looking at your social media scores, which is a totally different thing, honestly. And if you
Right.
have a big following on social media, like, well, at least they have a way to go and find. So basically, you still have to go find your own audience now. They don't help at
Right.
all with that.
Right.
They'll take the same percentages they used to take, but they won't even find your audience for you and help you find your audience anymore. They'll just take the money. And so it's it's yeah, because again, they don't have the cost that they used to have. They don't need to press all the labels or press all the vinyl anymore. They don't need to get all of those records into distribution anymore. They just do the same thing that I do, which is upload it to the services. It's
Right.
ridiculously easy. And they can put a lot of money into marketing and in developing an artist and stuff like that. But since they wait until you already are one of those before they go and do that, it's you don't necessarily need them at that point. If you're
Right.
if you're if
Right.
you're the type of artist that the labels are like, we really want to give you a lot of money, that's probably the perfect opportunity to go, oh great, I've already made it. I'm not going to
Yes.
get any better with
Yes.
this, but they're going to take the money if I go do it with them, and
Exactly.
they'll give me 10% more for 90% less. And does it sound like I don't have a label deal? I don't.
Well, I think I even remember hearing, I forget who said it, but it was someone said something about Michael Jackson's Thriller. And well, Michael Jackson, love him, hate him, whatever.
Can't argue
He,
with the success and when he did.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's just what I was about to say. You can't argue with the impact of his music to this day, and what he started. Because every boy band that came out in the 90s up to now, whether it's male, female, pop star, whatever, is pretty much due to him. And you can say probably Madonna also is a big one for female
Yeah. I mean,
artists.
she
Right.
was, yeah, there's the strength that she showed to get to where she is took a level of of savvy and strength and all of those things that most people didn't have, and that's how she got to be who she is. But yeah,
Exactly, exactly. Really, I would say those two. I would say Michael Jackson for like the pop boy bands and Madonna for the female pop singers. But
and
like,
there's lots of other ones you could see along the way that may have been like Alanis Morissette for a certain style of
yes,
thing,
yes,
and
yes.
people who were.
PJ Harvey in the also in the
Yeah,
90s.
I mean, there's a bunch of folks who yeah, at each stage sort of did a little bit more. Rarely, honestly, is that there's someone who completely changes it. It's a sort of a lot of people adding a little bit more, and eventually you get to a place that's better. The number of women who are performing these days, and the number of women bands. And one of the things that if you listen to a lot of my music, you'll see that the people that I have helping me out, most of the stuff I do is my own, but I don't sing like what a woman sings like. And so I'll have a lot of, guest artists who sing just amazingly, and I'll write with them or just have them sing on some of the songs or both. And Yeah, and I just love it. I mean, if I was going to go have a band, I would love to have an all women band because it's just something that is, that there's just so many great musicians out there and all different instruments now. That wasn't the case. And they may have wanted to be, but there were never opportunities before, and there are more increasingly now.
Yeah,
Yet it's
exactly. I
still
was even
growing.
going to comment on that, especially in rock. Like one thing I'm seeing way more prominent over the last like 5 years is it's either like female musicians who are the singers, play whatever instrument backed by all guys, or it's an all female group just, and no guys. But either way, the female like rise, resurgence, or surgence, I should say, and just also hearing like I mean, I want to say more the bands I listen to, whether it's shoegaze or, more alternative rock and roll, new wave grunge sounding, is more female dominant
Yeah,
than male dominant.
yeah. I love seeing that. I mean, it's one of these things. It's like, oh, that doesn't necessarily help me, but I don't. But I love seeing it. Right? And there's a young singer named Avalon Stone who I did a little bit of writing with, and she just got picked up by a label, and she's amazing. Just has this fantastic sound. There's Liliana Tani who writes and sings on a bunch of my things, who's 17. I think she'll be 18 soon, but she's just an absolutely amazing singer. I found her on Threads, just sort of, and we were all sort of chatting, who do you? And I was like, her voice is amazing, and we wrote a song together that she released, and then she sang on a few more of mine, and like she's just so good. And yeah, so it's great to see, so many great, women really sort of making their mark and coming out and, from Wet Leg or all sorts of different bands and that have not just, a woman singer, but guitar players and bass players and drummers. And, you go
Right,
back and see bands like the Go-Go's, right? Where it's like, or the
right,
Bangles
right.
in the 80s where it's like, oh, whoa. And the only question was always, did they actually play in the studio? Yes, they did. But, it was, you could literally go, oh, there's two. And now there's thousands.
Right,
And that's great.
right.
Or, and I don't know anywhere near what the number is, but it's growing and it's becoming more just normal. And that's wonderful.
And thank you
And
for
yeah,
mentioning Wet Leg, by the way. I really want to interview them bad. They are like, speaking of new wave grunge,
yeah.
they are like the proof that like if they can win a Grammy, with their
It's one of the
debut
bands that you
album.
listen to and you go, I haven't heard this before. This is just
Yeah,
different. Right.
yeah, yeah.
And and most of the time when you hear that, it's the same thing when I listened to Nevermind. It was just different. Nirvana didn't sound like anything else. They were a different
Right,
thing.
right.
And clearly there were all sorts of influences that you could see came into that. But it was just a different thing when that happened. The Police were a different thing.
Hmm.
And so Wet Leg is a different thing. And
And I'll name two more female fronted bands backed by old guys, both from Australia. Full Flower Moon Band. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. Awesome, awesome rock and roll. Again, it's their second album, a little more darker, but still like it's like has that element that only like Australia rock
yeah.
can have. The other one, I apologize if I am mispronouncing the name of the band. It's Amy with an L at the end. So I'm not sure if that's a meal, but it's a meal and the Sniffers.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, they and I think both Full Flower Moon Band and the meal and the Sniffers just won like the Australian version of like the Grammys.
Hmm.
And both just huge, huge. I mean, I see like the audiences that both bands are drawing. Full Fire Moon Band has that like real raw kind of like old school rock and roll energy, and and the Sniffers has that very like AC/DC punk rock, you know, just energy when
Yeah.
she goes on stage and performs. Same thing when you see Wet Leg perform and everything. It's like I just really happy to see not just like rock and roll reemerge, but like we were talking about, like female fronted, female kind of like artists rising and kind of being like the new generation, next generation of like rock stars.
Yeah, and then going back a little bit, you mentioned Amy L. And it made me think of Evanescence, right? It was the same idea.
Yes, yes.
Like when they came out, it was like, what's this? I mean, this is
Right.
sort of gent metal, but with classical themes and with her singing in a way that you just hadn't heard in that type of music before. And it was like undeniably amazing. And it still is. And yeah, so it's like you see these moments happen and you never quite know when they're going to happen. Even for me, like writing things, it's like when I keep putting out songs or writing songs that I'm like, this one's different. I'm not sure about this one. This is weird, but maybe weird is just the new, right? And
Right.
it's blending a couple of things. I've had a few songs recently where it's like, is this a rock song or is this Broadway? I can't quite tell. Like this could be the beginning of some show. In fact, a lot of the album, Here We Go Again, is, it's about that sort of inspiration of the muse or whatever it is, right? Being sort of inspired by some moment. And suddenly there's a song that's in your head and you go and do it. And you're like, okay, well, I wonder where that came from. I'm like, because I didn't sit there and go, okay, now I'm going to now work out the song and I'm going to go write it. It's like I woke up at 3 a.m. and there was this idea in my head about what this song is about. And then the words kept coming into my head like really quickly. And suddenly I had a chorus and 3 verses, and I'm like, I need to write this down.
Right.
I don't know where this is coming from right now, but I like it. And when those moments happen, so it's about those sort of moments of creativity and when they come and when they don't come and when they came before and you wish they would come again, but where are they? And so if you look at that album, actually all of the odd numbered songs are about that theme, and the even number songs are ones that came to me in that way or were somehow connected to it on the other side of that little hack on that album. But some of those songs, it's like, this is almost a Broadway song, like the opening one, Here We Go Again. It's like, this could be just the beginning of a Broadway play about inspiration, a musical about, inspiration, right? Because it's basically me going, oh, hi, muse or whatever it is. It's 3 a.m. Yes, here you are. Okay, I'm going to listen closely because I really don't want you to stop coming, but it sure is early. Be cool if you could come to me at 9 a.m. But okay, here we are.
Right.
Let's catch this moment. And that actually happened with the song called "Bubbling Your Champagne," which is the second song on the album, where it literally was like pouring out in my head at 3 a.m. and I sort of woke, and I literally had to get up. Okay, I need to go write down all these ideas because this is really good, I think. And the next day I came in here and recorded it, and it's pretty much the one that is on the album there, which is my most streamed song. So it's like, I don't know where this came from, honestly. And I don't know that I could make that happen again the same way. But part of it is just being prepared for when those moments happen, to let them happen and to capture them and to be ready for it. And the general view I have on the whole sort of concept of the muse or the inspiration is, if you're ready for it when it comes, it'll keep coming. And if you aren't ready for it, or you ignore it, or you say, yeah, I'll get that later, and then you don't, then the muse will go, oh, I'm going to go someone who cares. And that's what the song Dead to Me on that album is about, which is basically, it sounds like it's not about that, but if you look at it with that, I love writing songs that clearly are about this one thing. But if you get this one little extra bit of, oh, by the way, maybe it's about this other thing, you can go, oh my God, it's about that too. So you could look at the song Dead to Me and be about someone who's sort of being ghosted by some. And again, this is when I had Liliana sing on, because it seemed more like a song that a woman would sing than a guy would sing. And if it's about your typical relationship, yeah, it would be much more likely that a guy is going to ghost some girl in some way, and she's going to be like, what the hell's wrong with you? But also, it could equally be about, okay, she's the muse, and she's trying to provide something to some person, but they're like ignoring her. And she's like, okay, I don't know what's wrong with you. I'm trying to give you a brilliant song. And if you don't, fine, you're dead to me. I'm going to go to someone else. I'm going to give someone else his ideas from now on. And but like, if you're not there to receive those ideas, if you're not open to what inspiration has to bring you at the point where it comes to you, then that might be the last chance you get. And so you need to always be sort of ready for that, which is one of the great things about mobile phones. I've always got my notebook with me.
100% with you. I actually went to school for screenwriting here in Pittsburgh, and I have a few things published on Amazon as like an ebook. I totally relate to writing and, capturing your own ideas and what that, how that is unique and how that can translate to whether it's film or music. There's always some sort of niche genre or popular genre, but everything is like so subjective in the arts that it's great
Yeah.
because there's always some sort of audience for what you're trying to put out there. And I'm going to end on that note because I have about 15 minutes before I got to get the next band on the
I should have
show to
warned you.
swim in the
If we
bowl.
start talking, it'll take a long time to stop.
Right, right. So if you could plug your socials and where like people can check out Audiogust, subscribe, become
Yeah.
listeners, all that.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram at Audiogust Music. I'm on Facebook at Audiogust. You can search me there as well. Those are all sort of connected threads as well. Not really on Twitter. I mean, technically I'm there, but I'm just not there these days. And you can also go to audiogust.com, which is my website, and get to everything from there. You can get to Bandcamp, audiogust.bandcamp.com. Yeah, so I'm on all those places, but the website is the sort of, everything will sort of be up there first. And of course, just search Audiogust. And one of the nice things about it, unlike the name Chris Evans, of which there are way too many of us everywhere, I'm one of the only Audiogusts that I've found, which is part of the reason that I used that name.
And if anybody's wondering, this guy's the real Captain America.
That's right. This is. I did do the movies. Its makeup is amazing these days. Like they can make you look totally different. Actually, one of my favorite Chris Evans movies is Scott Pilgrim, which is brilliant. Love
Talk about musical soundtrack.
movies.
Yes, yes, and
Songs on that
another
album
one I like
are
of his
brilliant.
before he was famous was Cellular, going back to the 2000s.
Mhm.
It's a dated movie now because of the advancement in cell phones and stuff, but it's a fun little action movie, and I think it's the only official action movie where Jason Statham played a villain and not the hero or the anti-hero character persona. Worth checking out. Fun little action movie and actually has a few stars in it besides him. But follow Chris, Audio Gus, follow the Fishbowl. Chris, thank you so much for taking the time to swim in the bowl with me. I
For
hope the
having me. I
temperature
can
was just right.
take my flippers off soon and get all the pruny out.
Excellent. And I would the conversation was excellent. I hate to be cutting it as short as I am, which only leads me to say I'd love to have you on the show again anytime and continue chatting and even staying in touch. Who knows? Some of the stuff we talked about might be the next head of the game app
Yeah.
thing. So Chris, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Hey there, all my fishes in the sea. Thanks for tuning into today's episode and for being a subscriber. Your continued listenership and support means the most and helps keep the show growing to deeper and deeper depths. I want to let all my guppies in the sea know the Fishbowl has now officially partnered with FastCustomShirts.com, where they're now selling custom Fishbowl t-shirts under their podcast and website section. Every t-shirt that's purchased helps and goes a long way to keep the show growing to deeper and deeper and higher depths. I also now have custom hats, beanies, handbags, pens, mouse pads, everything to make you look like the coolest looking fish in the sea, which you can DM me directly on Instagram at thefishbowl88 or on Facebook at just the Fishbowl, or you can friend request me, Sam Fish, directly and get yours today. Your continued listenership and support again means the most. It's the most important fishes that flock together. We are a school of fish and we keep the unit going. Let's all keep swimming upstream.